What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Trading, and today we're going to be talking about 3 ways to avoid getting jammed off the line of scrimmage, okay? So this is going to be a great example of just what you guys can do to get separation against all types of DBs. DBs who are going to walk up and get real physical right off the line, DBs who are patient and wait for you to come at them to get physical, and just all the above. So this is every situation that you might face from a DB perspective and how you guys can avoid getting jammed and completely rerouted on this thing. So I hope this video gives you guys some value. It teaches you a few new things, but also if you guys want over an hour and a half's worth of specific wide receiver training content, all the specific drills and tips that you guys need to be able to do to improve your overall game, check out that very first link in the description for our route running Bible. So what you'll get access to is a 48-minute long video on how to improve your route running in 10 days. So what it is a 2-week long schedule with all the specific drills that wide receivers need to do to improve their route running, and we break it down into specific sets and reps. And also you get access to a 49-minute long video where we give you 20 different press releases, when to use each one, so the specific situations, and drills to work on each one with sets and repetitions. So very first link in the description, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So the first release we're looking at here is this slide release from Jerry Jeudy, right? He does a great job of sliding this DB off that platform and then working that 1-2. So main thing about this is, fellas, is range. So the first thing that you got to understand, especially being a smaller guy, I know Jeudy isn't smaller than this DB, but especially I know there's a lot of smaller receivers who watch this stuff and get better at their skills. You got to understand what range is. So what range is this range, like a 45-degree angle almost off the line of scrimmage, to where this DB, if he's going to get hands on you, he has to come at you. And if he's not going to get hands on you, he has to shuffle or he's going to sit to the inside, which is great for me either way, right? So that's exactly what Jeudy does right here. So you see when he slides, he takes off at an angle, because at the end of the day, fellas, we got to be able to threaten a DB vertical. If we're going lateral, right? So like, let's say the line of scrimmage is right here, and let's say Jeudy slides, but he still stays behind the line of scrimmage. This DB is just going to shuffle with him, and no matter how good of a move Jeudy makes, he's still behind the line of scrimmage, and he has to get here. All that does is just give that DB time to recover, and he's able to make this play. All that dancing behind the line of scrimmage, fellas, isn't going to do anything. You have to actually threaten this guy vertical. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you don't want to get too close to this DB to where he could sit in this base right here and jam and get hands on you, right? That we don't want to cover myself. That's how I like to say it. So I don't want to get too close, but I don't want to be behind the line of scrimmage. You want to get right in that like middle ground, right? So like, here's the line of scrimmage, here's too close. You want to be right in here. That's what I mean by range, because that range will force a DB to make a decision, right? So now Jeudy's running a slant, right? So he slides and then he hits him with this 1-2, really sells like he's going vertical. He's throwing his hip to the outside. His hips and his shoulders commit to the outside, weights on the inside part of his foot. So when you get that DB to jump, he can push and get some explosion. Now, everybody loves to ask this question. What if the DB just sits to the inside, coach? What if he just stays right here? We slide, and then I do this move, and I end up running into him. Okay, fine. He played it well. Sometimes these guys will just be in the right spot at the right time. That's fine, but we got to have that mindset of, I'm going to make him move. I'm eventually going to set him up so much that I'm going to make him move off that line. And how you set this up is maybe, let's say, you're backside on a play, right? And you see this man coverage, maybe this DB's on an island, maybe it's like zone coverage on the opposite side of the field, but this is the best DB on their team, and they trust him to be on an island with you. Maybe I slide him to the outside like this, and he wants to stay disciplined to the inside, then I just slide and then take off and go. And he can feel your speed when you slide and take off and go. When you know you got him, you got to let him know that you got him. You got to point at him. You got to tell him like, yeah, I got you. I can get you on a fade anytime. Anytime I want to, I can get you on a fade, because that's what makes him over anxious. That's what will get him to slide off of this platform with you, because he doesn't want to get beat deep. Trust me, a man covers that DB does not want to get beat deep. And if you threaten him off the line vertically, if you stretch him vertical with that release and you use range, that's going to force him to have to commit to something. If he wants to sit to the inside, I'll run a fade next time. If he wants to jump to the outside, I'll cross you up and go run a slant. There's really nothing he can do when you operate in that range. So that's the first thing that you guys can do to avoid getting jammed and completely rerouted off this route. Understand range. Same thing, if that DB's inside shade and he looks like he's going to be getting physical, that slide and go release is great for a fade. That slide double up is great for a slant. I don't like it for anything much longer than that, like a dig or a post, just because the release takes a little bit too long. But that doesn't mean that you guys can't operate in like a split release. That means you kind of hesitate to the outside, then take off. There are a lot of different ways you can use range besides doing a slide and then hitting a crossover like Jeudy. This is a great example of how to use range. Watch it again, full speed. Great job sliding. Great job hitting him with that 1-2 and getting that DB off that platform. So second thing, we're also going to be looking at another clip here from Jeudy, is this step back release, but how to actually use the step back release properly, okay? So a lot of people misuse this thing. We're going to play this full speed and then we'll break it down. So you see how Jeudy, he takes a little step back. It's not this big jump back, and he's still making this DB uncomfortable closing the space with him, right? So now, if I got a DB right here who's up close, right, not giving me a lot of space, right? Now let's say it's one-on-ones, because everybody's would always ask me, like, how do I win on one-on-ones? And I can't stand one-on-ones because I don't think it's real football. But if you got a situation where a DB's crowding you, just step off the ball. Like, give yourself some space. so you can do this kind of a move, right? 7-on-7 is a little different because like one receiver's got to be on the ball and all that stuff. Don't worry about it. But one-on-ones, when you get that DB who's just doesn't play it realistically and he just chokes you off the line, when in reality, in a real game, we're just going to go run a stretch to the outside and he's going to be completely out of the play. When he loves doing that, just take a step off the ball. Give yourself some room. It don't matter. And he's going to try to talk crap, but it's just smart football, okay? So now, main thing about this step back release is you see how Judy just takes a little step, right? That's all you need to do, and you see how he keeps a good pad level, because if this DB were to jam and he were to get hands, he's not going to be completely knocked off this thing. So many receivers, when they do this step back release, they'll step back, their chest pops up in the air, and they take this big jump, and they go back like 2 yards. The problem with that is you're not getting to the depth of the route that we need you to get at. You're taking too long. The step back, you're going negative. You're going away from the route that you have to run. Like, let's say you got to go run a curl route, and you're stepping back, 2 yards. Now, instead of a 12-yard curl, it's a 14-yard curl. But guess what? The quarterback is still taking a drop that times up with the 12-yard curl. So you can't be doing that release and taking this big step back. Now, also, mind you, the pad level is what's important. If this DB were to get hands, Judy wouldn't get rerouted because he's got a good explosive pad level position. This is an explosive position. His base is nice and strong. That's where we need to be. So you see how the step back is just a subtle step and you stay in this explosive position, okay? Because now we're trying to gather info on this DB. Is he going to bail out of there? Is he going to shift to the inside? Is he going to shift to the outside? Depending on the coverage, we should kind of have an idea of that already. But I step back to try to get a read on him. I see that he's bailing out of there. Fine. Let's go attack him. Let's go make sure I make a play. Now, if he's going to get real physical off the line, and let's say he's going to lunge at you, let's say he's going to try to get hands, and you hit him with this step back and you stay in this explosive position and he lunges, you got to understand it's the same thing. Range, right? We were just talking about range to where you slide to the outside. This is a range to where if he's going to get hands on you, especially when you step back off the ball like I was talking about, and he lunges at you, he lost his base. So if you keep that explosive pad level position, that lunge shouldn't knock you way off as long as you're like almost leaning forward in like a 45-degree angle, almost. Not a complete 45, a little bit above that, obviously, but you don't want to be straight up with your chest. If he lunges at you and gets hands, have a plan with your hands, dude. He's off balance. So if you're physical and you attack those points of control, and by points of control, I mean elbow, forearm, back of the shoulder, then I can get some separation because he lost his base. So that step back release, know when to use it. Know not to take this big jump back and pop your chest up. It's a subtle step. Keep your pad level, stay in explosive spots so we could get a read on this DB, then operate. And then Judy, you see how this DB bails out of there. He just hits him with that same crossover, then is able to create space. That's a perfect example of how you guys should use the step back release properly, how you guys can use this thing correctly. Let's watch it again full speed. Great job stepping back right here, getting a read on this DB. He wants no part of it, and I can just get easy separation, okay? So now, let's talk about a situation that is going to be a split release, okay? So now, and here's the deal, fellas. I don't show those clips where not usually, at least, where you see like one-on-ones and it's all at all these camps where these DBs just choke a guy in the gym and 5 yards off. And I get those sent to me all the time. And people ask me, wait, hey, how do I do this? What did I do wrong? Like, what does this guy do wrong? Like, this happens to me all the time. How can I fix that? You guys got to understand it's not real football, okay? Because here's the deal. You know what a quarterback could do? He could go on 2 and that DB is going to be jumping off sides. And then we got 5 yards and he ain't ever going to do that again. Or you could just step back off the ball like I was saying. It's not real football, right? And again, if he's going to jam like that, all right, let's come back. Let's do the same formation. I'm just going to go run a stretch to the outside. I'm going to make sure that I seal that end and get my guy to bounce to the outside. Well, that's DB's trying to be a hero. We're going to take this thing 15 yards up the field on him, right? So it's not real football, fellas. You guys got to be prepared for the real situations. College coaches don't give a crap about the one-on-ones, 7-on-7. They care about the pads and the real game time scenarios. And I'm assuming that's what all your goal is to strive to play college football. And that's what we have to focus on. Those situations, how to get me open, okay? So now let's get back to this clip. So first thing we're going to be talking about here is this split release and how you guys can be sudden with a split release to really freeze this DB. So let's watch it full speed. This is Sterling Shepard. He splits, does a great job in taking that inside release. So that's the third thing to help you guys avoid getting jammed is, so the first tip, right? So use range. Second tip, know how to use that step back release correctly. And number 3, you got to be sudden. Being sudden is how you guys can avoid getting jammed, because if you're sudden, you're quicker than that guy, that forces a reaction out of him. But if I can just get out this ball quick, I kept timing with the quarterback. The number one thing, the number one goal of press, of jamming you, is to disrupt timing, right? So if I could be sudden with my feet, I have a plan, I execute the plan, I know what my plan should be from having a high football IQ, I understand the DB's leverage, I understand the safety situation, all that stuff, that can allow me to go execute, right? So when when Sterling Shepard comes off here and he hits this split release, right? You see him, there's this little head fake to the outside, this DB's outside shade, right? So he probably knows, okay, they're working a situation where the DB's got safety help to the inside, by the way. So he's outside shade. Shepard knows that I'm not going to try to force the outside release. I'm going to give him something. I'm going to give him this split release, right? Come to a position of balance, number one, a little head fake to the outside, and I'm just going to take the inside release. How you can avoid getting jammed, fellas, is not forcing it. A lot of the times when guys get jammed is they force it. They'll have a DB who's inside shade, and they got to run a dig, and they try to force the inside release, and they get hands, and they get completely rerouted all the way to the middle of the field. You got to make sure that you trust yourself. This DB's outside shade. I'm not going to go outside. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to take what he gives me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep him honest and try to get him to hesitate to the outside, and then I'm going to explode up and do the best I can to restack or get a little lean into him. Okay, so you've got to make sure, fellas, that you have a plan. We don't force anything off the line so I can create as much separation as possible. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Shepard working that split, and then obviously just getting up into this route. And you see when you guys can get off the line where the DB doesn't get hands and you keep timing with that quarterback, that is a very dangerous thing. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope this video gave you guys some value, just taught you a few new things just about how you can beat press coverage, how you guys can have a plan off the line of scrimmage and avoid getting jammed. And again, fellas, if you guys have any feedback, please feel free to leave that in the comments below. I always appreciate any comments you guys have, suggestions. Always appreciate it. Helps me come up with new ideas for videos. And again, fellas, Route Running Bible, over an hour and a half's worth of content on how to improve your route running in 10 days, 10-day schedule, 49-minute long video, 20 different press releases, when to use them, and drills to work on them. Hope you guys could check that out. Very first link in the description. I'll see you guys next time.